So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support means the world and helps me keep bringing these quiet, thoughtful stories to your night. Now, tell me, what city are you in right now, and what time is it where you listen? I want to imagine the exact setting as these words find you. Thoughtful. Maybe you're nestled in bed, the soft hum of a fan nearby, or perhaps you're sitting by a window with the evening breeze brushing softly against your skin. Wherever you are, dim the lights. Let the busy day slowly fade away. Tonight, we'll step back in time, to a place where life was governed by unusual laws. Laws that shaped every moment in colonial New England. From curious rules about clothing and food to peculiar punishments for minor misdeeds, these laws reveal a world both strange and surprisingly human. So breathe deeply, let your mind drift, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow over the wooden homes, the townsfolk gather quietly in the meeting house. The air hums softly with anticipation, the familiar creak of the door signaling the start of the town meeting. Here, laws are born, and the delicate threads of community life are woven.
Let us come to order,
the town clerk announces, his voice clear and deliberate.
Today we will discuss matters most important to our village, rules that will guide our actions and protect our neighbours.
The selectmen take their seats at the long wooden table, faces serious but kind. Villagers lean forward, eager to hear what new rules might shape their daily lives. Some whisper quietly, wondering how these laws might affect their harvests, their children, or their Sabbath. An elder's whispered joke ripples through the crowd, lightening the mood.
Remember, no one shall wear silk to church.
The room hums with gentle laughter. And so begins a new chapter in the village's story. A delicate dance of order and freedom, shaped by the strange and thoughtful laws of colonial New England. In the heart of the village, the magistrate stands firmly in the town square, ready to remind the people of a curious law, one that governs not just behavior but even the fabric they wear. The rule is simple. No citizen shall don silk, velvet, or any overly fine cloth in public gatherings, especially in church. The Lord calls us to humility and plainness, the magistrate announces, his voice steady but kind. Our garments should reflect the simplicity of our souls. Among the crowd, a woman nervously adjusts the modest but fine linen of her dress. "But my gown is both simple and neat," she whispers to a neighbor. The neighbor nods with understanding, but reminds her quietly, "We wear what shows respect, not pride." An older man nearby chuckles softly. "Remember when young Abigail wore the new crimson ribbon? The town couldn't stop talking for weeks." The crowd smiles, the warmth of community mixing with gentle teasing. This law, like many others, served to keep the community grounded, a shared reminder that beneath the clothes it is the heart that truly matters. And so, the people dressed plainly, their spirits shining quietly beneath modest fabrics. As the Sabbath approaches, the village prepares to honor a deeply held law. No meat is to be eaten before sundown on Sundays. This rule is not just about food, but about respect and reverence for the Lord's day, a day set apart for rest and reflection. The body and spirit must both find peace, the village elder reminds the gathered families. Abstaining from meat until the sun has set keeps our souls in tune with God's will. One young farmer smiles sheepishly as he carries a small basket of vegetables. "I suppose the pigs don't mind the fast," he jokes quietly, drawing a few smiles from those nearby. A mother softly whispers to her children, "Remember, little ones, the Sabbath is a special day. We wait patiently for the evening meal." The children nod solemnly, learning the rhythm of their community's life. This law, simple on its face, shaped the rhythm of the village's week, marking time not just by clocks, but by the changing light and shared acts of devotion. It was a gentle reminder that life, faith, and even food were woven together in the fabric of daily living. In colonial New England, the village took the matter of drunkenness seriously. It wasn't merely a personal failing, but a disruption to the peace and order everyone worked to maintain. When John was found drunk in the marketplace, the town's law stepped in swiftly. "John," the constable said, "you stand accused of drunkenness within the bounds of our village." The tone was serious, but there was no cruelty, only a hope for correction. John rubbed the back of his neck, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. "I meant no harm, only a little cider to ease the day," he admitted, drawing a soft smile from some onlookers. The magistrate nodded thoughtfully. 3 days in the stocks will remind you, and all of us, of the value of temperance and community care." As John was gently led to the stocks, the villagers murmured quietly among themselves. It was not just punishment, but a public moment for reflection and renewal, a reminder that even small faults were shared responsibilities in this tightly knit world. In the quiet village lanes of colonial New England, even the keeping of dogs was carefully regulated. Dogs were valuable helpers, guarding livestock or alerting families, but they were also a potential source of trouble if left unchecked. "The town council declares," announced the town councillor, "that all dogs must be kept leashed and under their owner's control at all times. No dog shall roam freely within the village." A farmer nodded in agreement. "My dog guards my sheep from foxes, but I keep him close. We all must care for one another's safety." Nearby, a young boy laughed softly as his small terrier wagged its tail excitedly, held firmly on a leather leash. "She likes to chase the squirrels, but I make sure she stays close." This law, like many others, balanced freedom and responsibility. It ensured peace and safety for people and animals alike, fostering a community where trust and care walked hand in hand, often on a leash. In colonial New England, church was not only a place of worship, but the heart of community life. Laws were in place to ensure everyone attended regularly and arrived on time, a reflection of the community's deep faith and commitment. The selectmen remind all parishioners, absenting oneself from the Lord's day service without a valid reason will result in fines, announced the town crier. Promptness is also expected. Doors shall close precisely at the ringing of the second bell. A young woman whispered to her friend, "Remember last week when Mr. Thompson tried sneaking in after the bell? He was made to sit outside until the next service." Both smiled quietly, knowing the law was taken seriously. An elder nearby nodded. Punctuality honors God and neighbors alike. The congregation's shared commitment echoed softly through the pews. These rules, strict yet rooted in care, shaped the rhythm of the village's spiritual life, binding the people in a shared reverence that went beyond personal belief to community responsibility. As darkness fell over the colonial village, a law was in place to ensure safety and order. All lights must be extinguished by a certain hour, and the streets cleared of wandering souls. The curfew was both a practical rule and a gentle reminder to rest and prepare for the day ahead. The town crier reminds all residents, "No person shall be found roaming the streets after 9 bells, he called, his voice carrying through the quiet lanes. Lights must be put out to preserve the night's peace." A teenager giggled softly as she hurried home, lantern in hand. "I almost forgot the curfew again," she whispered to her friend. The friend laughed quietly, clutching a small bundle of herbs. An elder leaned on his cane, smiling kindly. "Curfews keep us safe and our neighbors well rested. Even the night needs its own order." This rule, like many others, wove care and discipline into daily life. It shaped a village rhythm, one where community well-being and peaceful rest were honored under the quiet watch of the stars. In colonial New England, the Sabbath was a sacred time of rest, reflection, and renewal. The community's laws carefully protected this day, forbidding work and labor to honor the Lord and preserve the spirit of peace. The town declares, "No labor, trade, or travel shall take place on the Sabbath," announced the constable. This day is set apart for prayer, family, and rest. A farmer standing beside his plough smiled wryly and said to his neighbour, "Looks like these fields will wait till Monday." "And so will I." The neighbour nodded, appreciating the rare pause. A mother gathered her children near the hearth, reminding them softly, "Today we rest. Even the earth needs a break." The children listened quietly, sensing the day's specialness. Such laws wove a sacred rhythm into colonial life, slowing time itself to allow community and faith to flourish. It was a collective breath, a pause embraced by all, from the youngest child to the oldest elder. Taverns in colonial New England were lively places, where villagers gathered to share news, stories, and a drink. But the community's laws carefully shaped the atmosphere, ensuring that joy did not turn to disorder. The town warns all tavern keepers, "No drunken brawls or loud disputes shall be tolerated," the constable declared. "Peace and civility must be preserved within these walls." A tavern keeper smiled as he wiped a wooden mug. "We serve cider and ale with good cheer, but anyone causing trouble will be asked to leave," he said, nodding to a regular patron. Two friends at a corner table shared a quiet toast, whispering jokes beneath the dim candlelight. A little laughter and good company, but no foolishness, one said with a grin. These rules, though strict, kept taverns as welcoming spaces, a place to relax after a hard day, while still honoring the values that bound the community together. In colonial New England, education was considered vital, not just for reading and writing, but for understanding the Bible and living a godly life. The town enacted laws to ensure that children attended school regularly. The town council orders all parents, "Your children shall be sent to school, that they may learn to read the scriptures and keep the faith." The teacher nodded approvingly, standing before a group of attentive students. A young boy whispered to his friend, "I hope we don't have too many lessons today." The friend grinned. "At least we get to sit near the window and watch the birds." The teacher smiled gently. Learning is a gift, and with patience, it becomes a joy. The children nodded, their faces a mixture of curiosity and eagerness. This law, like many others, wove education deeply into colonial life, ensuring that knowledge, faith, and community were passed from one generation to the next, quietly shaping the future. In colonial New England, candles were the precious source of light after sunset, but they also posed great dangers. Laws were put in place to ensure safe use and prevent devastating fires.
The town warns all households. Candles must be extinguished by 9 bells each night and never left unattended,
proclaimed the fire warden.
Loose curtains and dry straw near open flames are a grave hazard.
A mother gently blew out a candle by the hearth, whispering to her children, "Better safe than sorry, little ones. We want to keep our homes warm, not burning." The children nodded solemnly. A neighbor nearby teased, "Remember when old Mr. Harper nearly set his barn ablaze with a careless candle?" Everyone chuckled at the memory. These rules, though simple, were vital reminders of shared responsibility. Each flickering flame a small trust to be guarded, ensuring the village's safety and peace throughout the long night. In tight-knit colonial villages, words carried weight. Laws were crafted not only to govern actions, but also to guide speech, especially when it came to gossip and public speaking, which could easily disrupt harmony. The town council warns, "No citizen shall spread harmful rumors or speak in anger against their neighbors," the constable declared. Such speech disturbs the peace and invites discord. A woman whispered to her friend, "Remember old Samuel's fiery speech at last month's meeting? The town hasn't forgotten." Both smiled, understanding how words could both heal and harm. Nearby, a group of villagers exchanged knowing glances, but kept their voices low, aware of the law's reach. These rules nurtured a community where kindness in words was as important as kindness in deeds. Quiet reminders that peace often begins with what we say, and how gently we say it. Doing Kainas colonial villages, words carried weight. Laws were crafted not only to govern actions but also to guide speech, especially when it came to gossip and public speaking, which could easily disrupt harmony. The town council warns no citizen shall spread harmful rumours or speak in anger against their neighbours, the constable declared. Such speech disturbs the peace and invites discord, a woman whispered to her friend. Remember old Samuel's fiery speech at last month's meeting? The town hasn't forgotten. Both smiled, understanding how words could both heal and harm. Nearby, a group of villagers exchanged knowing glances, but kept their voices low, aware of the law's reach. These rules nurtured a community where kindness in words was as important as kindness in deeds. Quiet reminders that peace often begins with what we say and how gently we say it. In colonial New England, what one wore was more than just clothing. It was a statement of modesty, status, and community values. The town enforced strict dress codes to keep everyone aligned with shared ideals. The selectmen decree men shall wear plain woolen coats and breeches, women must wear modest gowns with covered heads, announced the town crier. No flashy colours or excess adornments shall be tolerated. A young man adjusted his simple woolen cap and whispered to a friend, "At least we don't have to worry about fashion trends." The friend laughed quietly, appreciating the simplicity. Nearby, women arranged their coifs carefully, exchanging knowing smiles about the subtle ways they expressed individuality within the rules. These laws wove a fabric of unity and humility, encouraging each person to blend gently into the community's shared life, where character mattered more than colour, and modesty was a quiet virtue. Sundays in colonial New England were solemn occasions, and laws guided not only attendance, but how parishioners presented themselves in church. Attire and behaviour were expected to reflect the reverence of the day. The town commands, all shall come to the Lord's house dressed plainly, without adornments that distract from worship, the minister proclaimed. Whispering and idle chatter shall be kept to a minimum. A young woman adjusted her plain bonnet and leaned toward a friend, whispering, "Remember when old Mr. Peters brought his noisy boots last week?" Both suppressed smiles, knowing even small distractions were noticed. An elder nodded solemnly. Our conduct in the house of God honours not just him, but our community. These laws created an atmosphere where faith and fellowship were gently nurtured, reminding all that humility and respect formed the true adornment for the Sabbath. In colonial New England, trade was a vital part of daily life, yet it was carefully regulated to ensure fairness and maintain community trust. Laws govern not only prices, but also the honesty of those who sold goods and bartered. The town declares all merchants and traders must offer fair weights and honest measures. Deceit or overcharging will be met with penalties, the town official announced at the market gathering. A merchant grinned as he weighed a sack of flour. "Honesty builds trust and good business," he said to a customer who nodded approvingly. Nearby, two women haggled gently over the price of eggs, their voices low and good-natured. "A fair trade benefits us both," one said with a smile. These laws helped weave fairness into commerce, reminding all that trade was not just about goods, but about the relationships and respect that sustained their close-knit society. In the close-knit villages of colonial New England, mutual aid was more than kindness. It was a law that bound neighbours together in times of need, ensuring no one faced hardship alone. The town declares, all able-bodied residents must assist neighbours in times of illness, harvest or disaster, the town crier proclaimed. Our strength lies in our care for one another. A farmer laughed softly as he helped his neighbour repair a roof. It's good work and good company, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. Nearby, a woman tended to a sick child while neighbours brought firewood and food. Together we thrive, she whispered gratefully. This law was a living testament to the spirit of community, reminding all that survival and joy were woven through acts of care, hands reaching out across fences and fields. Market days were lively yet orderly affairs in colonial New England, and punctuality was expected to keep the day running smoothly. The town's laws ensured that both buyers and sellers respected the schedule and treated each other fairly. The town council reminds all merchants and patrons, arrive on time, conduct your trades honestly, and respect one another, the market official declared. Fair dealings strengthen our community. A merchant unloaded barrels of apples, smiling as he greeted early customers. Early to market, early to success. He joked quietly with a friend. Nearby, a woman carefully weighed flour for a buyer, while children played quietly by the stalls. "A fair market is a happy market," she said softly. These laws, simple yet important, helped maintain the trust and rhythm of village life, where community thrived on respect, fairness, and shared tradition. As twilight deepened, the town crier's voice echoed through the streets, reminding all of the curfew and the sacred hours of quiet to come. These laws helped preserve rest and safety for the entire village.
By order of the town, all residents must observe the curfew. Streets must be clear and lights extinguished by 9 bells, the crier announced, his tone steady and kind.
A young man hurried home, lantern in hand, whispering to his companion, "Just made it under the wire." They both laughed softly, savoring the quiet evening.
An elder leaned on his cane, smiling as he watched families settle indoors. Quiet hours bring peace to body and soul, he mused.
This simple law wove calm into the village's daily rhythm, a reminder that rest was as important as work, and peace a gift to be shared. In colonial New England, communal barn raising was both a necessity and a celebration, a time when neighbors gathered to build, share labor, and strengthen community bonds. Laws ensured everyone's participation and cooperation. The town requires all able-bodied men to join in communal projects like barn raising, the overseer reminded. Together, we build not just barns, but the fabric of our village. A young man hefted a timber, joking with a friend. "If I'm not careful, I'll end up building your barn next." Laughter echoed among the workers. Nearby, an elder encouraged the younger men. "This work is as much about fellowship as it is about wood and nails." These rules wove cooperation and care into daily life, reminding everyone that community thrived when hands worked side by side in shared purpose. Maintaining the village roads was a shared responsibility in colonial New England. Well-kept paths ensured safety and ease of travel for all, and laws required residents to contribute to their upkeep. The town orders, all able-bodied men must help repair and clear roads leading to the village and neighboring farms, the overseer declared. "Good roads are the veins of our community." A man wiped sweat from his brow as he filled a pothole with gravel. "It's hard work, but we all rely on these roads," he remarked to a passing neighbor. Nearby children played by the roadside, watching the men work with curious eyes. "Someday we'll keep these roads too," one said quietly. These laws fostered a spirit of shared care, ensuring that the village remained connected and that all contributed to its well-being. Firewood was essential for warmth and cooking in colonial New England, and laws governed its gathering and sharing to ensure fairness and prevent shortages. The town declares firewood must be gathered responsibly, and neighbors are encouraged to share during harsh winters, the constable announced. "Let none go cold through neglect or greed." A woman carried a bundle of kindling, smiling as she offered some to an elderly neighbor. "We all need a warm hearth," she said kindly. Nearby children helped stack wood, their laughter mingling with the crackling of distant fires. These laws knitted the community together, reminding all that survival was a shared effort warmed by generosity and care. To protect the village's peace and ensure the safety of its young, curfews were set for children and youth, guiding when they should return home after play or work. The town council sets the curfew. All children must be home by sunset and youth by the ringing of the 9th bell, the constable announced. This rule keeps our community safe and orderly. A group of children hurried home, giggling softly as they raced under a glowing sky. "Almost missed the curfew again," one whispered. An elder watched from a porch, smiling warmly. "Good habits start young," he said quietly. These laws protected not only the village's peace, but also the well-being of its youngest members, weaving safety and care into daily life. Water was a precious resource in the village, and strict laws ensured its fair and safe use. Communal wells were carefully managed to serve all residents. The town mandates, all shall take turns drawing water from the well, and wastefulness is forbidden, the water overseer reminded. Clean water is life for all. A woman patiently waited her turn, chatting quietly with neighbors. Good water habits keep us all healthy, she said with a smile. Children played near the well, careful to keep the area clean under watchful eyes. These rules reminded the village that shared resources required shared respect, a simple truth that sustained life and community harmony. Due to protect the village's natural resources, laws set specific seasons for hunting and fishing. These restrictions ensured animals were not overhunted, preserving the delicate balance of nature. Due to Town declares hunting and fishing shall only occur during designated seasons to sustain the wildlife, the game warden announced. Respect for the land is respect for our future. Patience is part of the craft, he said, smiling. Nearby, a family prepared fishing nets with quiet care, knowing that nature's rhythms must be honored. These laws helped weave conservation into daily life, a gentle partnership between the people and the land they called home. In colonial New England, the Sabbath was a day of rest and reflection. Laws ensured the village remained peaceful, forbidding loud noises and unnecessary work, so the sacred day could be honored. The town proclaims, "No loud labor or noise shall occur on the Sabbath," the town crier announced. "All shall keep the day holy through quiet and prayer." A young woman smiled as she closed her spinning wheel for the day. "Even the wheels rest today," she whispered to her friend. Children sat quietly near the hearth, listening as elders read scripture aloud. The room hummed softly with reverence. These laws helped the community slow its pace, embracing a sacred pause that renewed both body and spirit. Taverns were lively centers, but laws governed their closing hours to keep peace and order. The village required taverns to close early enough to respect neighbors and encourage rest. "The town orders all taverns shall close by sunset no later than 9 bells, the constable announced. "Peace and quiet must reign after hours." The tavern keeper shook his head with a smile. "No more late-night tales tonight," he said to a patron, who laughed softly in agreement. A group of friends left quietly, bidding farewell as they stepped into the fading light. These rules balanced joy and responsibility, ensuring the village's well-being while preserving community harmony. Livestock were valuable to colonial families, and laws ensured animals were properly cared for, preventing neglect and disputes. The town commands, all animals must be fed, watered, and sheltered appropriately, the town official declared. Neglect will not be tolerated. A farmer smiled as he led his cattle to a clean pasture. "Good care keeps the herd healthy," he said to his son. Children watched as sheep were gently herded into their pen, laughing softly. These laws protected both the animals and the people who depended on them, weaving responsibility into daily life. Public meetings and gatherings were important for decision-making, but were regulated to ensure order and respect among attendees.
The town declares all public gatherings shall be peaceful, respectful, and conducted under the guidance of appointed leaders,
the town clerk announced. A villager whispered to a friend, "Remember last town meeting? The orderly debates made me proud." Nearby, people settled quietly, ready to listen and participate with kindness. These laws nurtured a culture of respectful dialogue, helping the community solve problems together with care. Cleanliness was crucial for health in the village, and laws regulated waste disposal to keep the streets and homes safe and pleasant. The town commands, "No refuse shall be thrown into streets or waterways. All waste must be properly disposed of in designated pits," the constable warned. A woman swept her doorstep, nodding as she greeted neighbors. "A clean village is a healthy village," she said cheerfully. Children helped carry small buckets of ashes to the disposal pits, giggling quietly. These simple laws helped keep the village bright and safe, a testament to shared care and responsibility. In colonial New England, youth were often bound to apprenticeships to learn trades and contribute to their families. The town's laws ensured apprentices were cared for and properly trained. The town declares, Masters must provide fair treatment and education to their apprentices, who shall work faithfully in return, the town clerk announced. A young apprentice smiled as his master taught him carpentry. "I'm learning well, and I hope to build strong houses one day," he said proudly. Nearby, other apprentices practiced their crafts under watchful eyes, their efforts met with gentle encouragement. These laws wove education and responsibility tightly together, helping shape the next generation of skilled, trustworthy community members. Alcohol was part of daily life, but carefully regulated to prevent excess and maintain order. Laws governed when and how alcohol could be sold and consumed. The town proclaims, "No sale or consumption of spirits before the evening bell, and no drunkenness shall be tolerated," the constable warned. A tavern keeper poured cider for a customer, smiling gently. "We serve with care, ensuring all enjoy in moderation." Friends shared quiet drinks, laughing softly without raising their voices. These laws encouraged balance, reminding all that joy and restraint were both part of community life. When a villager passed away, customs and laws guided mourning and funerary rites, helping the community honor their dead with dignity and care. The town commands, "Funerals shall be conducted solemnly, with respect to both the deceased and the community," the minister reminded the gathering. A widow adjusted her simple mourning shawl quietly. "It is comfort to come together," she whispered to a friend. Neighbors offered gentle support, sharing stories and quiet prayers. These laws wove solemnity and solace into the community's fabric, reminding all that grief was shared and healing was collective. Tavern patrons were expected to respect the village's curfew, closing the night with civility and care for their neighbors. The town orders all taverns shall close promptly at 9 bells and patrons must leave quietly, the constable declared. A group of friends rose from their table, murmuring goodbyes. "Time to head home," one said softly. The tavern keeper nodded, guiding guests gently to the door. These rules balanced merriment with respect, ensuring peace for all. Sunday travel and visiting were limited by law to preserve the sanctity of the Sabbath and encourage restful reflection. The town decrees, "No unnecessary travel or visitors shall come on the Sabbath, that all may honor the day with peace," the constable proclaimed. A traveler paused at the village edge, turning back with a smile. "Better to wait until Monday," he said to a friend. Families gathered quietly at home, sharing prayers and stories by the hearth. These laws wove stillness and respect into Sunday life, helping the community pause together in peaceful harmony. Chimneys were essential for warmth and cooking, but they also posed a fire hazard. Laws required regular sweeping to keep homes safe from sparks and smoke. The town orders. Chimneys must be swept at least twice a year to prevent fire and smoke damage, the fire warden declared. Neglect endangers all. A chimney sweeper nodded, brushing soot from his hands. A clean chimney means a warm, safe home, he said with a smile. Families gathered nearby, grateful for the sweeper's work and care. These rules protected the village from disaster, weaving safety into everyday life with simple acts of vigilance. In colonial New England, servants and enslaved people lived under strict laws that governed their behavior and duties, reflecting the complex social hierarchy of the time. The town requires servants and slaves must obey lawful commands and conduct themselves with respect within the household and community, the magistrates stated. A servant nodded quietly as she prepared the household, mindful of her role and duties. Household members exchanged gentle smiles, understanding the delicate balance of order and care. These laws, though strict, shaped the household's daily rhythm and reflected the era's social norms. Unmarried young adults faced curfews designed to encourage responsibility and protect reputations within the close-knit village. The town declares all unmarried persons must be home by the ringing of the 9th bell, the constable announced. Respect for oneself and community guides this rule. A young woman hurried home, smiling as she waved goodbye to friends. "Almost made curfew again," she whispered. An elder watched from a window, nodding approvingly. These laws helped maintain order while gently guiding youth toward adulthood and community respect.
The care of the poor and needy was a communal responsibility, and laws ensured charity and support were part of village life.
The town orders: all able-bodied residents shall contribute to the care of the poor, whether through goods, labor, or money, the town crier proclaimed. A merchant handed a sack of grain to a town official. "We all share in the village's well-being," he said kindly. Neighbors gathered to deliver food and firewood to those in need, their hearts full of quiet generosity. These laws nurtured a community bound by compassion, where no one was truly alone.
Sunday markets and trade were restricted by law,
Preserving the Sabbath as a day of rest and worship for all. The town proclaims, "No market or trade shall be conducted on the Sabbath, that all may honor the holy day," the constable announced. A vendor packed away goods, smiling as she spoke to a customer. "Monday will bring fresh business, but today we rest." Villagers walked quietly to church or home, embracing the day's peaceful pause. These laws wove stillness into the week's rhythm, reminding all to balance work with sacred rest. In many colonial villages, barn storage and tools were shared resources. Laws ensured that all neighbors respected communal property and returned tools after use. The town declares all shared tools must be cared for and promptly returned to the communal barn, the overseer reminded. Respect for shared goods strengthens the village. A young man carefully returned a wooden pitchfork, nodding to the overseer. "A good tool in good hands," he said. Nearby, neighbors chatted quietly while sharing plans for the coming harvest. These laws wove cooperation into daily life, encouraging trust and shared responsibility. Petty theft was taken seriously, with laws designed to correct behavior while preserving community harmony. The town proclaims those found guilty of petty theft shall receive public reprimand and restitution, the magistrate announced. Justice and mercy must walk hand in hand. A young man lowered his head, accepting the town's judgment. "I meant no harm, just hunger," he murmured. Neighbors exchanged understanding glances, knowing harshness was tempered with care. These laws balanced correction with compassion, reflecting the village's shared values. Taverns were places of community gathering, but music and dancing were regulated to maintain order and respect. The town orders, music and dancing shall be kept within reasonable hours and not disturb neighbors, the constable declared. A fiddler tuned his instrument, smiling as villagers prepared to dance quietly. "A little joy goes a long way," he said. Couples twirled gently on the wooden floor, laughing softly under candlelight. These laws balanced celebration with respect, ensuring taverns remained welcoming spaces for all. Hay harvesting was vital for feeding livestock, and laws guided when and how fields were used to ensure fairness and sustainability. The town declares, hay shall be harvested at proper times, with respect for neighbors' fields and shared pastures, the overseer announced. A farmer raked hay, smiling as he spoke to his son. Good timing keeps the fields healthy and neighbors happy. Nearby workers cooperated, stacking hay carefully under a soft afternoon sun. These laws wove care into farming, balancing needs and stewardship in daily life. Planning for the harvest was a communal affair, with meetings to discuss crops, labor, and storage to ensure a successful season.
The town council calls all farmers to meet and prepare for the harvest, sharing knowledge and resources,
The town clerk announced. A farmer nodded as he listened, saying quietly to a neighbor, "Together, we'll have a good season." Villagers shared stories and advice, the room filled with quiet optimism. These meetings nurtured a spirit of cooperation, helping the village thrive through shared effort. In colonial New England, communal pastures were vital for grazing livestock.
Laws ensured fair use and care to maintain this shared resource. The town proclaims all livestock must be tended and pastures not overgrazed, the overseer reminded. Fairness and stewardship protect this gift for all. A farmer checked his cattle, nodding to a neighbor. Care for the land is care for each other. Children watch cattle graze peacefully, learning the value of respect and balance. These laws wove respect for nature and community into the daily lives of all. To protect their tight-knit community, colonial New England villages regulated the entry of outsiders, requiring visitors to announce themselves and sometimes seek permission. The town decrees, "No stranger shall enter without first declaring their purpose to the town constable," the guard announced. "This keeps our village safe and orderly." A traveller approached the village gate, politely announcing his arrival. "Good day. I come seeking shelter and news." Villagers watched quietly but kindly as the traveller was welcomed after explanation. This law balanced caution with hospitality, reflecting the community's care and prudence. The ringing of the Sabbath morning bell called villagers to worship and marked the start of the sacred day. Laws ensured this ritual was performed with reverence. The town orders, "The Sabbath bell shall ring clearly and promptly at sunrise." Calling all to gather, the bell ringer announced. A child listened eagerly to the bell, tugging a parent's sleeve. "It's time for church," she exclaimed softly. Neighbors gathered quietly, beginning their walk to the meeting house under a soft morning light. This simple call united the community in faith, marking a moment of shared devotion and peace. Winter's thaw often left village roads muddy and rough. Laws required residents to come together in spring to repair and clear the paths. The town calls all able-bodied men to repair roads after the thaw, ensuring safe travel for all, the overseer announced. Men work together, shoveling gravel and smoothing ruts. "Better roads make better journeys," one said with a smile. Children watched nearby, their faces bright with curiosity. This yearly effort wove cooperation and care into the fabric of village life, renewing the pathways that connected neighbors. Communal gathering places, such as the meeting house and common green, were central to village life. Laws ensured these spaces were maintained with care and respect. The town orders, "All shall help keep communal spaces clean and in good repair, for the benefit of all," the town clerk reminded. Villagers swept leaves and repaired benches, chatting warmly. "A well-kept common is a sign of a thriving village," one said. Children played nearby, their laughter blending with the sounds of work. These laws fostered pride and shared responsibility, reminding all that community thrives when cared for together. The village stocks and pillory stood prominently in the town square, a reminder that public correction was a key tool in maintaining order. Those placed in these wooden restraints were exposed to the watchful eyes of neighbors, a powerful lesson in humility. The constable announced, "John, you are to spend 3 days in the stocks for neglecting your duties." John, a middle-aged villager, gave a resigned sigh. "I suppose a lesson well learned," he murmured, settling into the wooden frame with a wry smile. Nearby villagers gathered quietly, some shaking their heads, others offering small smiles of sympathy. "Let this remind us all to honor our responsibilities," said the elder. The stocks weren't just punishment. They were a community's way to restore harmony and encourage personal reflection, framed by a shared commitment to justice and care. In colonial New England, theft was taken very seriously. Public whippings were one of the most common punishments, serving as a painful reminder to both the offender and the community about the importance of honesty. The magistrate declared, "You, Thomas, shall receive 30 lashes for the theft of grain from the communal store." Thomas grimaced, but nodded in acceptance. "I was desperate, but the law must be upheld," he said quietly. The gathered crowd watched solemnly, some whispering prayers, others nodding in understanding. The elder's voice rang out softly, "Let this serve as a lesson to us all." Though harsh, the punishment reflected a community's deep need to protect trust and resources, reminding everyone that integrity was the foundation of their shared life. In colonial New England, words were powerful and sacred. Laws imposed fines on those who swore or spoke blasphemously in public, emphasizing respect for the community and God. The constable announced, "Samuel, you are fined for using profane language in the marketplace. Let this be a lesson in temperance." Samuel rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "The heat got the better of me, but I will mind my tongue henceforth," he said with a small smile. Nearby villagers nodded quietly, understanding the importance of measured speech. An elder added, "Words build or break. Choose them with care." These laws taught the community that respect began with what was spoken, binding the village together in shared reverence and harmony. Marriage in colonial New England was more than a personal commitment. It was a union recognized and regulated by the community. Laws ensured marriages upheld both spiritual and social order. The town council declares all marriages must receive approval from the elders and be conducted in the presence of witnesses, the minister announced solemnly. A couple stood nervously before the elders, the bride adjusting her modest bonnet. "We seek your blessing to unite in holy matrimony," the groom said softly. Friends and family exchanged warm smiles, sharing quiet excitement. "May your union honor both God and community," the minister blessed. These laws shaped family life as a foundation of the village, binding individuals not only to each other, but to the shared values and hopes of their neighbors. In the industrious villages of colonial New England, idleness was frowned upon and often punished. The community depended on everyone contributing their share, and laws discouraged loafing or neglecting work. The town proclaims, "Those found idle without good cause shall be fined or assigned to work for the common good," the magistrate declared. A young man scratched his head. "I suppose I must earn my keep," he muttered with a sheepish grin. Villagers nearby exchanged knowing smiles, understanding the value placed on diligence and shared responsibility. These laws encouraged a strong work ethic and community spirit, reminding all that every hand mattered in building the village's future. Gossip was more than idle chatter in colonial New England. It was seen as a threat to harmony and trust. Laws were in place to discourage spreading rumors that could harm neighbors or disrupt the peace. The town declares, "Any who spread harmful gossip shall face fines and public admonishment," the constable announced. A woman lowered her eyes, quietly acknowledging the warning. "I did not mean to cause harm," she murmured. Nearby villagers exchanged understanding glances, knowing the power of words to build or break trust. These laws served to protect the delicate fabric of community, reminding all that kindness and care began with thoughtful speech. Taverns were lively hubs in colonial villages, but when merriment turned to brawling, the law stepped in firmly. Disorderly conduct was met with swift punishment to maintain peace and safety. The constable proclaimed, "Those involved in tavern brawls shall face fines, public apology, and possible confinement." One brawler, rubbing a bruised cheek, muttered, "I let my temper get the better of me." Nearby friends shook their heads with soft laughter. Villagers watching nodded quietly, appreciating the balance of justice and mercy in maintaining order. Such laws reminded everyone that even places of joy and fellowship needed rules to protect the community's well-being. Sabbath breaking was considered a serious offense in colonial New England. Laws ensured that the sacred day of rest was honored, with punishments for those who worked or caused disturbances. The magistrate declared, "Those found laboring or engaging in leisure on the Sabbath shall be fined and publicly admonished." A villager admitted quietly, "I tended my fields before sunrise, I meant no disrespect." The crowd nodded, understanding the weight of faith and law. Neighbors exchanged glances, a shared respect for the day evident in their faces. These rules wove reverence into village life, reminding all that rest was both a duty and a gift to body and spirit. During times of illness and outbreaks, colonial New England imposed restrictions on public gatherings to protect the health of the community. These laws were early forms of quarantine and social responsibility, The town council decrees all meetings, markets and church services shall be suspended until the outbreak subsides, the constable announced. The safety of our people is paramount. A merchant folded his goods quietly. These are trying times, but we must care for one another, he said softly. Villagers dispersed calmly, understanding the gravity of the situation, sharing worried but hopeful glances. Such laws balance caution with community care, early lessons in protecting public health while holding on to hope.
In colonial New England, even on the Sabbath, the consumption of alcohol was closely monitored. Drunkenness on this sacred day was met with strict penalties, reflecting the community's desire to keep the day holy and orderly. The constable declared, "Thomas, you stand accused of drunkenness on the Sabbath and shall be fined and publicly admonished." Thomas lowered his eyes, admitting quietly, "I did not intend disrespect, only a little warmth on a cold day." Villagers nearby nodded in understanding but agreed that the law was necessary to maintain the sanctity of the day. These laws reminded everyone that reverence and self-control were essential parts of communal faith and order. Alongside the stocks, the pillory was another common form of public punishment. Offenders stood with their heads and hands locked, exposed to the eyes of the entire village, a humbling and often uncomfortable reminder of the cost of breaking the law. The magistrate pronounced, "Elizabeth, you shall stand in the pillory for 2 days for your part in the false testimony." Elizabeth took a deep breath, steadying herself. "May this serve as a warning to others," she said softly, meeting the eyes of the onlookers with quiet dignity. The crowd watched with a mixture of sympathy and solemn respect, understanding the balance of justice and mercy. The pillory, while harsh, was intended not just to punish, but to restore community trust and uphold social order. Church attendance was not merely expected, it was enforced. Those who neglected their duties were subject to public shaming, reinforcing the community's collective faith and responsibility. The constable announced, "Mary, you have failed to attend 3 consecutive Sabbath services. You shall stand in the church doorway during the next service as penance." Mary bowed her head, cheeks flushed. "I hope to make amends," she whispered. The congregation murmured softly, some nodding in approval, others offering sympathetic glances. This public penance was a reminder that faith was a shared journey, and accountability was woven into the fabric of village life. Curfews were taken seriously in colonial New England, especially for ensuring peace and safety at night. Those found roaming after hours faced fines, reinforcing community order. The town constable declared, "Samuel, you are fined for being found in the streets past curfew. Let this remind all to respect the night's peace." Samuel scratched his head. "I lost track of time, but I'll be more mindful." Neighbors exchanged quiet smiles, knowing the importance of restful nights for all. These fines were not just penalties, but gentle nudges towards responsibility, nurturing a safe and peaceful village life. In colonial New England, minor offences were often met with community service, reinforcing the idea that repairing harm meant contributing to the village's well-being. The magistrate declared, "Thomas, you shall serve the town by helping repair the meeting house for the next 2 weeks." Thomas nodded, grabbing a hammer. "A chance to make things right and learn too," he said with a small smile. Villagers worked alongside him, offering guidance and friendly words. This form of justice blended correction with care, building not only structures, but community ties. Trading on the Sabbath was strictly forbidden in colonial New England. Those caught selling or buying goods faced penalties designed to protect the sanctity of the day. The constable announced, "Elizabeth, you are fined for trading at the market on the Sabbath. Such acts disrupt the holy rest." Elizabeth nodded solemnly. "I did not intend disrespect, only urgent need," she said quietly. Villagers exchanged knowing looks, understanding the balance between necessity and law. This law helped weave respect for the Sabbath into daily life, balancing community needs with spiritual duty. Public prayer and silence were deeply valued in colonial New England. Laws ensured that public spaces remained respectful places for worship and quiet reflection.
The town declares, all shall observe moments of public prayer and maintain silence in the meeting house and common areas, the minister reminded. A group of villagers bowed their heads quietly, embracing the stillness. Children whispered softly, learning the value of respect and reverence. These rules wove sacredness into daily life, nurturing community and shared devotion. Public apology was a common form of justice in colonial New England, a way to acknowledge wrongdoing openly and restore community trust. The magistrate declared, "Joseph, you shall publicly apologize for your harsh words at the town meeting." Joseph nodded, stepping forward. "I regret my words and ask for forgiveness," he said sincerely. Villagers listened attentively, some nodding approvingly. This practice reminded all that humility and accountability were key to communal harmony. Listening. Children's attendance at Sabbath services was closely watched, with laws ensuring they participated fully and respectfully. The town decrees, all children must attend Sabbath services and behave with reverence throughout, the teacher reminded the congregation. A child whispered to a friend, "I hope I don't fall asleep today." The friend giggled quietly. Parents smiled knowingly, encouraging their little ones. These laws nurtured early lessons in faith and respect, shaping the village's future. Court appearances in colonial New England required adherence to strict dress codes, reflecting respect for justice and community standards. The magistrate declared, "All appearing in court shall dress plainly and modestly, reflecting the seriousness of this place." A man adjusted his simple coat nervously. "Better to show respect than to court trouble," he murmured. Spectators nodded quietly, appreciating the solemnity. These dress codes reinforce the dignity of justice and community values in every proceeding. In colonial New England, every able-bodied villager had duties that supported the community, from roadwork to watching the livestock. Neglecting these responsibilities was seen as a serious offense. The constable proclaimed, "John, you have neglected your assigned duties. You will be fined and required to complete community work." John nodded solemnly. "I will make amends and serve well." Neighbors murmured in agreement, knowing that shared effort was vital for their survival and peace. These laws reinforce cooperation and the importance of contributing to the village's well-being. False accusations disrupted trust and harmony. Those who wrongly accused others were required to apologize publicly to restore peace. The magistrate declared, "Sarah, you shall publicly apologize for your false accusation made at last month's meeting." Sarah stepped forward, voice steady. "I regret my words and ask for forgiveness." Villagers listened attentively, some nodding in understanding. This practice emphasized honesty and the repair of social bonds. Taverns were important social centers but had regulated hours and rules to prevent disorder. The town orders, "All taverns shall close by 9 bells, and patrons must behave with respect." The tavern keeper smiled. "We keep the peace so all can enjoy." Patrons nodded in agreement, chatting quietly as they prepared to leave. These laws balanced community enjoyment with respect and order. Gossip threatened community harmony, so penalties were enforced to discourage harmful talk. The constable declared, "Those who spread malicious rumors shall face fines and public admonishment." A woman looked down. "I did not mean harm," she whispered. Villagers understood the power of words and the need for kindness. These laws nurtured trust and kindness through mindful speech. Roads were vital for village life, and community labor ensured they were repaired and maintained regularly. The town calls all able-bodied men to repair the roads after winter's thaw, ensuring safe travel. Men worked together, laughing and chatting as they filled potholes and cleared debris. Children watched with curiosity, learning the value of shared effort. This yearly labor fostered cooperation and strengthened community bonds. Cleanliness was essential in colonial New England, not only for health but for the community's well-being. Laws strictly regulated waste disposal to keep the village safe and pleasant. The town decrees no refuse shall be thrown into the streets or waterways. All waste must be properly disposed of in designated pits or areas, the constable announced. A woman swept her doorstep diligently, greeting neighbors with a smile. A tidy village is a happy village, she said softly. Children helped carry ashes and scraps to the disposal pits, their laughter mingling with the sounds of sweeping brooms. These laws fostered shared responsibility, reminding everyone that care for the environment was care for each other. Tobacco was both a valuable commodity and a source of concern in colonial New England. Laws regulated its sale and use to maintain public order and health. The town declares tobacco shall not be sold to minors, nor used in public meeting spaces, the magistrate announced. Proper decorum must be upheld. A merchant wrapped a pouch of tobacco carefully. A prized product, but one to be handled with respect, he said quietly. Villagers nodded in agreement, some discreetly enjoying the habit in private. These regulations balance personal freedom with community standards, weaving order into daily life. In colonial New England, women's behavior in public was closely watched and regulated by laws that reflected the era's values and social order. The town proclaims, women shall conduct themselves with modesty and decorum in public spaces, avoiding loud speech or improper dress, the constable announced. A woman adjusted her bonnet and nodded quietly. It is part of living in harmony with our community, she whispered. Other women exchanged knowing smiles, understanding the balance between individual expression and communal expectations. These laws, though strict, were woven into the social fabric, guiding behavior with a gentle hand toward order and respect. Travel on the Sabbath was strictly limited in colonial New England. The law sought to preserve the sanctity and restfulness of the holy day, punishing those who journeyed unnecessarily. The constable announced, "Samuel, you are fined for traveling beyond the village limits on the Sabbath without cause. Let this be a warning to all." Samuel lowered his head. "I did not realize the strictness of this law," he said quietly. Villagers listened respectfully, understanding the importance of Sabbath rest. These rules helped weave sacred pause into the rhythm of life, reminding all to honor rest and reflection. In colonial New England, the care of orphans was a community responsibility. Laws required townsfolk to support and protect children without parents, ensuring they were provided for and guided. The town declares, all able residents must assist in caring for orphans, providing shelter, education, and work as needed, the magistrate announced. A kind woman wrapped a child in a warm shawl. "We all have a part in raising these young ones," she said softly. Neighbors brought food and clothing, offering quiet smiles of support. These laws reflected the village's deep commitment to compassion and communal care, ensuring no child was left alone.